Well, welcome back to Mr. Obsolete's Vintage Homesteading. This will be our first video of 2022, and it's going to be talking about chain and bar maintenance on the chainsaw. I've had quite a few questions and stuff. I've gone over this before, but I'm going to go into it a little more in depth. So anyway, first thing we're going to do is talk about files and what I use. So get them out here. Now there's basically four sizes of chain that I use. I have a few saws that have 1/4 inch, and then the next one is a 3/8 low profile, and then the most common I use is just standard 3/8 050 gauge, and then the last is 404 063. So I got a chain here. I'll just show you how I sharpen them and the tools that I use. Now on the 1/4 inch I don't have anything very exotic. I have just this, and so it takes me a while to do it because I got to make sure I keep the angle correct and whatnot. And then the other thing is that when you're doing it, you have to do the rakers also using a raker gauge and on a file. So we'll come over and do some close-ups of that. So anyway, this is different ones. This is what most people use and the pros use, just a regular file, because yeah, they're doing it all the time. The one thing that I don't do is sharpen the saws after every time that I use them, because I'll sharpen them when I figure they need it. A lot of times I'll just be doing light cuts, but if I'm out in the woods and I'm cutting into the ground and stuff, then of course I'll go back and do a full sharpening with the raker gauge. But on the rakers, normally I only cut them about every 4 to 5 times, depending on, there again, the type of work I'm doing. So anyway, this is what I used to use, and it works pretty good. This is made by Oregon, or sold by Oregon I should say, and there's little markings here for the different angles, because different chains have different cutting angles. The only thing I don't like about this is the crappy file it comes with. It's a crummy Chinese file. So this is what I'd call just almost a little bit better than nothing, because it wears out really fast. But with the plate here, you always keep it so you're not cutting the gullet too deep when you're cutting. I'll demonstrate it here shortly. This is what I use all the time. These are really quick and easy to use, and the thing I like about this is that it cuts the tooth and the gullet, but it also cuts the raker at the same time. This is a 3/8 low profile. Now the company that makes these is in Germany, and it's called Ferd. It's P-H-E-R-D. I see people call them P-Ferd and Preferred and everything else, but it's not. It's called Ferd. But anyway, this is what I like, because like I say, it cuts both things at the same time, and it has these little markings on here so you can keep your angle correct when you're cutting. I'll demonstrate that again. This one is the most common one that you'll find, because steel is the biggest seller of them, and of course you pay extra for the name. It's still a Ferd file system. You can see it's got marks, show you which direction when you're doing the cuts on the different sides of the different angles for the different teeth. And there again, you get your main file and you get your flat file. But when these first come out, I was a little skeptical. They were expensive. I paid like $42 for this, and probably more than that now. Had it for at least 3 years. And the German Ferd files in these things are really superb. I've never had to replace them yet, and I've done lots and lots of filing. And if you go back and look at some of our older videos, you'll see my saws cut really good. And so, like I say, the thing that's nice about this is it's really quick, and you can, if you're out on the woods somewhere, you can take this, and it takes nothing to get the saw ready to cut again sharp really easily and quickly. So anyway, we'll come over here and show you up close what we're going to do. So the first thing we're going to do is use a raker gauge here. And the raker's right here. And the depth of this compared to the tooth is what makes the cut. And so the most common one is 25 thousandths between the face of the tooth here and the top of the wedge here. So this is a crappy safety chain, so I don't use them, but I can feel that it's sticking way up here. And so yeah, it would take a long time to file this down, but like I say, I don't use safety chains. It's just an annoyance. But anyway, the first thing you do is go all the way around the chain with these. Set your rakers to the proper height. Then you want to come back and do the tooth. So if you're just hand doing it, just drop it down in the gullet. Like I say, it's about a 30-degree angle here. And just cut it like that. And when the tooth, when it's real smooth and doesn't cut anymore, that's when you know it's done, and go to the next tooth, and you can see it's really sharp. And this chain's probably got about 50% of its life left, but it's good to rotate these to keep the debris out of them, and tap them like this. Now this file is a Swedish Valorb, and that's what the big saw shop around here sells, and they're pretty good. I like them, but the Furds are a lot better yet. And then we talk about this, and you can see that the angle here is a 30-degree angle for this, so it just drops down in there like that. And there again, you can see your angle right here. If you're doing it this way, and there's another tooth here, you can see, you can line that right up. There again, you want to do your cut, lift the file out. And this one, you can't really turn it very easily. You can, but there again, that'll keep the file clean. So this, like I say, is the best. And this one is the one that I use almost exclusively anymore. And so you can see that the markings and whatnot, and for the different angles here. So like we're going to do this tooth here, the round file's back here, the flat file's right here. And there again, you can line it up. So you get your angle here. You're going to have a slight downturn on it. You see how easily that goes through there, and that tool is nice and sharp. Anyway, get your marks lined up here, so it's the same as the chain. Slight down angle. And remember to lift it out. So the thing is, most of the time I run 20 to 24 inch bars on my mid-size saws, and if I know that the rakers don't need to be serviced because I've hit rocks or debris or something like that, I can sharpen the chain in about 3 minutes. But if I'm using this and this, it's at least double or more. So that's why I use these. Okay, well, like I say, the Furds are the things I use almost exclusively anymore. The easiest place to find these is, this one's a steel branded one. You pay more for them, but this one came off the internet. But you have to be careful because there's some cheap Chinese knockoffs for about 25 bucks. And they're absolutely worthless. This is about $40 to $45 these days. So anyway, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about bar maintenance. Okay, well, here's an old McCullough bar that needs servicing, and you can see that, get it just right here. It says McCullough solid welded tip, and it's got the McCullough logo in here. You can see this dark patina on here too, where I've polished it up a little bit here. What I do to clean these, this is pretty rusty when I got it. I use vinegar and takes the rust off, but it leaves this little black patina, and I leave it on there because it'll keep it from rusting, but when I'm ready to put it on the saw and use it, I'll actually buff it off. This, like I say, is a hard tip, and the three types that I use, I like hard tips for doing bore cuts, and I like using McCulloughs because they all have the overriding oil pump, so I can pump a lot of oil on it when I'm doing it. And that way, and these are a special hardened tip, so they'll last forever. Pro loggers years ago, that's what they preferred. So anyway, let's put that in the vise here and talk about the things that we're going to do, the tools we use. And we had a number of questions about this bar file here, and you can see it's got a little flat file in here, and it's got a clamp here to hold it in place, and then this flat part here goes against there so it's square. And what I do, I take a marker pen and put it on the rail faces here, so that way when you're filing, the file will take off the marker and then you can see your high and low spots. Now this one is a medium grade. I'm eventually going to find a furred file and put in it, but works pretty good. But there's a lot of Chinese ones out there and they're basically worthless. Okay, what it's doing is taking, you get shiny metal on this side. It's not touching this one, so this would cut crooked. And so with this, it's going to take quite a bit of effort to get it nice and flat, but all it takes is time. Then the other thing that we do, we need to know what gauge this chain is for. And this is at 69, so this originally was a 63, so it's too wide also. So what we want to do, use another tool, and this closes these rails up, rail closer. And how they work, we have these rollers here, and it's adjustable. And then right here is another adjustment. And you can run this up and down, and it controls how far down they are on the bar. And so you want to have the roller so it's about 3/4 of the way down on the bar. Then you tighten the bolt up and put it on like that. There's a couple of guide pins back here. Then you put the initial tightness on here. So it's just starting to snug up now. And then just pull it back. I just put a light touch on that, so it wouldn't have probably closed it very much. But let's check it and see. Okay, that brought it down to 66. Now there's different thoughts on this stuff. Like I say, it's 63 thousandths of an inch is what it's supposed to be. I like running them about 2 thousandths wider because they oil better and run cooler, and it's especially important on the saws that I use a lot. But like I say, that they have a overriding oiler on the McCulloughs, and so my bars last forever. The other thing that this has to have done to it is this has a lip, both top and bottom here, and that's, you know, lack of maintenance there. And to cure that problem, get a clamp here. I just use a flat file. This one has a double cut on one face and a single cut on the other, and the double cut works excellent on these. Other people have suggested that using a kind of a worn flap wheel with a drill will take these down. Lots of different ways, but this is what I've always used. And just see, it's taking it right off. No lip. And file maintenance is real important because it's really hard to find good quality files anymore. This one is a company that's no longer in business, but when you're through with a file, you need to use a tool like this. Drop it on the ground, get a little debris on it here, but it's called a file card, and so use a soft bristle brush, and you go back with the little metal teeth here. On the single cut, you want to go the same direction as the teeth here. Now the way that files do wear, especially if you're cutting really hard metal like these, and you can sharpen them with vinegar and put them in for about a week. And when you're done rinsing them, just take some hot water with some baking soda, put it in there and neutralize it. Dry out thoroughly and put it away, and it'll cut like new again if it's a good quality file. So anyway, be right back. Okay, well, we got our McCulloch here, and like I say, I don't sharpen the chains after every job unless I hit a bunch of rocks and it really messes it up. But I usually keep between 12 and 15 saws ready to go, and so I like to go through them, keep them in good operating condition. So if I use one saw and I know that it's not really dull or anything, I'll put it away, and then the next job I do, I take another saw out and stuff. And then, like during the winter, where we're not out doing a whole lot with them, I'll go through and service them, every one of them, clean them totally, everything's ready to go. And this one I've already sharpened. You can see I've marked the tooth here, and there again I use this, and just a quick go through like that. See, there's no resistance, so that's nice and sharp. But like I say, start to finish is only 3 minutes. And the only time, like I say, I go back and do the rakers if I've gotten into some dirty wood or get into the ground or something like that. And the bars are another thing. That this is an original McCulloch one, but they didn't make it. It's a Windsor bar, and the Windsors have outlasted anything I've ever seen. The negative part of them, they're heavy, but the saw's a little heavy too. But like I say, if you gotta whine about it, then you're just a weenie and need to toughen up. But I haven't done the rails on this saw in over 5 years. You can see there's virtually no rock. It's perfect. And like I say, it's a 50 gauge. I run a 52. And right here you have the overriding oil pump. So it has automatic oiling, which is adjustable. You have this on top of it. So this really is the one thing I really like about McCullochs, because every one, from the Mini Max onto the biggest ones, almost every model has that. And bar oil's cheap. I mean, the chains last 4 to 5 times as long. The bars last forever. I think on this saw I've used it for 40 years, and it's on its, I think, second bar. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of go over stuff again and be a little more info on them. The last thing you want to do too, this is a sprocket tip, and there's a little hole right here, and so you want to use your little specialized grease gun here and squeeze that in, and then you want to rotate the chain when you do that to rotate the sprocket. But there again, I've done it already. And when we were down working at the railroad there with a Stihl 051 with a roller nose sprocket on it. A couple people asked why I didn't do some plunge cuts on the big wood. The roller tip aren't good for plunge cuts, and of course they're old and parts aren't available for them, and so I just don't use them. I always use this, or my preferred plunge cut saw is with a hard tip bar, because you can really put the ephes into it, and of course with a McCullough you got the overriding oiler. And it's amazing when you're in a heavy cut, you can put a couple of squirts and the saw will pick up 500-600 RPM real easily, and you can tell a big difference. And then the chain never gets hot. Take it out and you still feel the oil on them. So anyway, go back and watch some of our older videos and see these in action. So we'll be back soon with more exciting videos. See you soon. Vintage is best.